President Trump's assassin, Ryan Ralph, has been convicted of attempting to assassinate President Donald J. Trump. Sadly, border czar Tom Homan has been accused of taking $50,000 in cash bribes. Congress demands an investigation, and the White House says this is a smear campaign. Jimmy Kimmel gets his show back, but will it fail because of viewership and money problems? Lastly, I'll have on security expert Charles Marino to tell us what went wrong with the Charlie Kirk event and how just today the Secret Service averted a national security disaster on the day world leaders were gathering for the UN meeting. There's a lot to get through today, so let's jump right in. By the way, thank you guys for liking and sharing these videos. President Trump's assassin, Ryan Ralph, has been found guilty of attempting to assassinate Donald J. Trump. Listen to this.
All charges, count one so far, we know guilty unanimously. Paul, get your reaction here as we await more information from the courtroom.
All right. What happened? As soon as he found out he was guilty and going to jail, he literally tried to stab himself in the neck because he does not want to go to jail. He would rather have the death penalty. I'll continue to keep you updated on that situation. Also, it looks like Jimmy Kimmel is going to be getting his show back. He's refusing to apologize. He's blamed everything on Donald Trump, when in reality, his viewership sucks. His show is not getting the kind of attention it used to, and sponsors, which determine everything when it comes to money, no longer want to have him be a part of their situation. Let me show you what's going on here. Now, this is breaking news. Nexstar, the largest ABC affiliate group, is refusing to air Jimmy Kimmel on their network. That means over 60 ABC stations will not be airing Jimmy Kimmel, as Sinclair has declined to bring him back as well. We made a decision last week to preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live following what ABC referred to as Mr. Kimmel's ill-timed and insensitive comment at a critical time in national discourse. We stand by that decision pending assurance that all parties are committed to fostering an environment of respectful, constructive dialogue in the market we serve. In the meantime, we note that Jimmy Kimmel Live will be available nationwide on multiple Disney-owned streaming products, while our station will focus on continuing to produce local news and other program relevant to their respective markets. So what's really going on is nobody cares about Jimmy Kimmel, and they don't care that he was kicked off. And now it's come out, it had nothing to do with President Trump or the FCC. It all came down to money. 128,000 views from the top demo. That's nothing. This guy's show is absolutely toast. But of course, you've got people like Sunny Hostin over on The View spreading lies. But then you start digging in, and she was gleeful when Roseanne Barr and others were kicked off. Listen to this.
Our founders drafted the First Amendment specifically to protect the rights of citizens to criticize the government. When you cross that kind of societal norm, you must pay the consequence. And firing her was the right thing to do. I'm thrilled that ABC did it.
Oh, another ABC problem. Well, guess what? Jimmy Kimmel's show will likely be shut down in the coming weeks, just like Stephen Colbert, because nobody likes to stare at crap. And you have to make money. If you don't make money, you're out of business. And I don't think that ABC and Disney are going to put up with this very long. All right, now there's been a lot of internet rumors going around about Charlie Kirk, about the Jews, about Israel, about donations, about the future of the company. Well, his executive producer has now gone on record, and he's answering all of these questions. I found it to be very fascinating. Let's go ahead and listen to this together.
Charlie's position on Israel was very clear. I like them more than I like Hamas. I just wish I was free to criticize Israel and not be labeled an anti-Semite. because I can criticize my own government and not be called anti-American.
Right.
But why do I have more freedom to do, that and not criticize, a foreign government? And he was really upset that there was this sort of clampdown on the freedom of expression, the freedom of ideas, free speech when it came to a foreign government. And I will say this, he felt like he had earned the right as a friend of the Jewish people over the years and all of the things that he had done. He felt like his bona fides in that respect were unassailable and that he should have the freedom to say, hey, it's time to end the war. Hey, it's time to stop the killing. But, with Tucker, for example, we took some pushback. We lost some donors. And what's interesting is it wasn't necessarily Jewish donors, although there was, because that's a misconception about Turning Point's funding base, by the way, is, it's not a whole lot of Jewish donors. It's just not. We never, there was always, I saw the comments online like, oh, the Jewish shekels or something like, it's all this gross stuff. It just wasn't true. And it isn't true. But we did lose, one in particular towards the end that was frustrating. There's this great clip when we were in Myrtle Beach and he got asked if, from somebody in the audience, if he was going to, debate Candace or, disavow Tucker. And Charlie's answer I thought was amazing. I remember he came off the stage. He was like, "Do you like that one?" And I was like,
he would always ask that for reassurance.
Yeah. He always loved like, "Did you see that? Did you really listen?"
Yeah. Do I look good? Was that a good clip? Do you think that'll go viral?
Yeah. And I remember saying like, "Yeah, I thought it was amazing. It was morally so crystal clear." And he basically said, "I don't appreciate being morally blackmailed." And and every time people would say that to him, he would dig his heels in. It's like, well, maybe Tucker's going to give 2 speeches now at MFest.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll invite so and so.
That was one thing. Like Charlie and I relate to him so much is that him and I both do that where we don't like being told what to do.
Oh, I've noticed that before.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Andrew, I'm like, oh, there's so many things that we could talk about. How many times Andrew and Charlie have had to put out fires for me that I've started. But like, yeah, when I'm told I can't do something, it's like, well, I'm going to do it even harder then. That's just my personality.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie is very much the same way.
I think that's the key. It's like Charlie was a friend of the Jewish people and a friend of Israel. Did he have opinions about the prosecution of the war? He thought their PR was abysmal, thought they were doing more harm than good in many ways for their own cause. So all of those things were true. And he was upset that he couldn't express those things freely without all of this pressure coming down on the organization. He has a lot of great Jewish friends and, and some people that maybe some not so good ones. Right. But I think it's just a nuanced thing.
Was Charlie offered $150 million from Israel?
As far as I know, no.
I had never heard anything like that. Everyone I've asked has said the same thing.
And by the way, just for what it's worth, it doesn't matter the amount that would have been coming down. We would have said no.
And there's evidence that is true.
Turning Point Charlie would not accept foreign money.
Exactly.
We only took American money.
Yep.
There was money sent to us, like practically in multiple instances where they're trying to cram it down our bank account. And we said, no, we canceled like money wires and things.
No foreign money. And also no handouts from the government. During the pandemic, 100%. He refused to do mass layoffs that everybody else in the country was doing, said no to the whatever that check was. What was that they were handing out? Stimulus check.
Yeah. The PPE loans, right? I always get PPP and PPE mixed up, but
yeah. But it was a good amount of money that at the time we could have used.
Yeah.
He put out a company statement saying, this was tempting for sure, but we're going to say no.
Yeah.
He was very principled in that way.
He was extremely principled, especially on foreign money. I remember moments we'd be at like an event, and some foreign people would come up and like demand a meeting or try and get a meeting with Charlie, and Charlie would look at me and go, deal with them, get rid of them. Like,
all right. So that answers a lot of questions that people have. And wow, I kind of find myself on Charlie's side there, right? I like Jewish people. I think Israel has the right to defend themselves. I don't like the way that they're doing it. And I would not accept foreign money either. So there you have it. Israel did not try to give them $150 million. They don't take foreign money, and the company is going to continue to go forward. So once I saw that, I thought I've got to share that. All right, now there's some big breaking news, major security, national security issue that happened. It could have crippled all of the telecommunication across the United States, and it happened while the UN was meeting today. I've got Charles Marino here to help me go through that now. Chuck, thank you so much for coming back on.
Good to see you again, Stephen.
Absolutely. You too. So just some background. Chuck is a national security expert, writer, author. He's called on to Fox News and other places regularly. He's got a book out, Terrorists on the Border and in Our Country. There is a big story out right now. President Trump, world leaders have gathered for the United Nations meeting, and we're now finding out that there was a telecommunication network that has been discovered that had to do with doxing people, sicking the police on them as Trump was coming into office. This thing could have taken down all of the networks here in America. Can you help me and my audience understand what the Secret Service found?
Yeah, this is both very interesting and extremely concerning, and all Americans should pay attention to this. This started out as an investigation, protective intelligence investigation by the Secret Service, shortly after President Trump won the election for his second term in office. And it resulted from the fact that some of the people that were being named to government positions, cabinet positions, those that were suspected of getting a position were falling victim to being swatted. And it was very hard to find out who was behind this, but the Secret Service began the investigation, which ultimately led them to a location in New York, at which point in time there was no occupant there. However, when they went in, they found a lot of technological equipment, basically to form an off-the-grid network containing encryption capabilities that could be used. And ultimately, they found that these types of devices were spread around the entire metropolitan area surrounding Manhattan. So based on the fact that you've got 150 heads of state in New York all at the same time for the United Nations General Assembly, this became a top priority for the Secret Service. Now, these networks were not detectable, which made it very hard to find those originally that were carrying out these swatting attacks and committing other crimes. We know that the networks were being used by people known to the government in some cases. This includes foreign actors, actors like the Mexican cartels. It also includes those carrying out their criminal enterprises and conducting them that way. But there's a number of questions that need to be asked, because obviously these networks can cause a lot of different issues. One, was the motive to crash all of the cell towers in and around Manhattan as part of some type of broader attack? We know organizations like Al-Qaeda and ISIS are in the United States thanks to Biden's open borders. And we also know that it's their preferred tactics. We saw that on September 11th, where an attack is not just one of one, but one of many. So this could have been on the forefront of an attack, or just simply part of one. The other question is, you now had an ability for an unknown period of time for those wishing to do harm to the country and the American public to plan in secret regarding any potential terrorist acts that were under motion. So this is very concerning, very early on. Obviously, the Secret Service coming at this solely from a protective standpoint. Homeland Security investigations, the Office of Director National Intelligence are all involved. That should tell the viewers a little bit about the diverse range of people that are involved in this. This is very concerning for Tulsi Gabbard and the Office of Director of National Intelligence, because it purely was off the grid and not being monitored, not capable of being monitored in traditional ways that we may have those capabilities via other messaging applications and phone calls.
Okay. I'm just reading here. 5 locations, 30 SIM servers with 100,000 SIM cards, able to overwhelm cell phone towers with 30 million text messages a minute. I mean, nobody would be able to get communication in and out. That's crazy.
They had the ability to text every single person in the United States in about 10 to 12 minutes. And that would have ultimately brought down. Now, again, we're not just talking about our communication. We're talking about the communication of Secret Service agents, diplomatic security agents, NYPD, other first responders, So if you think about this, and we talk about this a lot regarding our critical infrastructure, if you talk about a first strike scenario, as I've been doing for a very long time, this fits the pattern.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Thank you for breaking this story on my show. We'll continue to monitor that. Chuck, help me understand the Charlie Kirk assassination from a security level. I'm being told that Charlie's team did everything right on the ground, and after the shot was fired, they did everything well. The problem is, how did we get there? Why were there no drones in the air? Why wasn't somebody up on the roof? I actually went to the school. I walked the entire crime scene looking for cameras. I was able to get on this roof within about 10 seconds. This is the exact spot a police officer or security, somebody should have been standing. What are your thoughts on the Charlie Kirk assassination situation? The Fed has finally dropped interest rates, and that's great news for American homeowners. Expenses have been a major burden on families. Wages are flat, prices keep climbing, and for many, the only way to make ends meet is to lean on credit cards. But that cycle of high interest debt makes it hard to stay ahead. If you're a homeowner, I want you to call my friends at American Financing. Right now, interest rates have dropped, and many homeowners are seeing options in the low fives. Compare that to credit cards charging rates in the 20s or higher. There is an easy path to see how you can finally put your hard-earned equity to work for you. American Financing can help you pay off that expensive debt, free up your cash flow, and keep your budget under control. Their salary-based mortgage consultants are saving customers on average $800 a month. And if you get started today, you might be able to delay the next mortgage payment. Take control. Call American Financing today at 888-686-8030 or visit americanfinancing.net/Gardner. Again, that's 888-686-8030.
So it all starts with intelligence and monitoring that on a consistent basis. We know the threats that were out there regarding Charlie Kirk, and some of these were significant and severe. We also know his commitment, as is evident, of the importance of getting out there and having freedom of speech and sharing opinions and ideas with those that sometimes not only just disagreed with him, but disagreed with him vehemently. And so this was the type of interaction, this was the type of political climate that he found himself in, and I believe was very well aware of that. Now, when it comes to security planning, all of that needs to be taken into account. We're in the business of mitigating risk. Utah Valley was a small university, very small police department. You heard the chief bring that up during the press conferences. Only 6 police officers were assigned. I think you had almost 3,000 people in the crowd that day. You had no ballistic glass, no enhanced technologies like drone coverage. You didn't even have magnetometer screening or scanning of tickets for people that came into the area. So this really turned into a first come, first serve. And what that made the site easy to infiltrate, whether it was in the outer, middle, or inner perimeter. The attacker in this case chose the outer perimeter based on the type of weapon that he used, which could coverage that distance. So, you know, here, this is going to change the way sites are done outside, not just for elected leaders, but also for high-profile individuals like Charlie Kirk was. And it's not easy. It's not cheap, but it's got to be done. And, you know, if there were things that were done here, he would still be alive. You know, it's tough to Monday morning quarterback in these situations because we don't know the dynamics between the security team and Charlie at that moment. He very easily could have said, look, I'm doing this one way or another, and this is the way I like to do it. And, you know, this is the feel I want to have for the event. So I'm fine doing it. Thank you very much for your recommendations. But, we also saw on the tail end, when you have a large event, why it's important to have an ambulance on site, whether it's for the crowd or for the VIP that's leading the event. So there's going to be a lot of lessons learned here. But obviously, this all falls at the feet of the violent person that carried out this attack. And it's just a sad state for the country. It's a sad, sad day for Charlie and his family and his wife and children. And it's a sad day for freedom of expression.
Yeah.
And we've got to change this, and we've got to change this quick. And in the meantime, we need to make sure that these folks are protected.
Okay. Let me play a clip with you, Chuck. This is a sheriff commenting on the police's part in this, their training and recommendations. Let me go ahead and play this, and then we'll react to it.
Question per se, but I have a comment to make, and I think it's one of the things that's misunderstood, and Chief Pennington has just hit on part of it. There's an assumption that law enforcement knows how to secure events. There's an assumption that law enforcement knows how to do security. They don't. It's not trained in their wheelhouse. Okay, that's a process where other experts come in. How we train personal security details, how we train perimeter security details for special events is very, very different from what law enforcement does. You can see this. I have grandchildren in football teams and games. I attend games, and I'll see, like last week, I saw all three school resource officers who are protecting that game standing together in one group far away from where people are so they could visit and chat while they were present. And they believe that presence is a deterrent, and it is not, as we found out with other events. It may be of value, and I can get with Chief Pennington, it may be of value to produce some guidance in a document form that states expectations and then how securing events actually looks. It may be that, because they'd all be willing to do it. It is something they believe they're doing, but from a true security standpoint, that's not what is.
Okay, I don't know why they were filming the back of his head, but your thoughts on, when it comes to an event, the difference between hiring someone like you, a security expert, and just having police. And then I thought it was really interesting what he said is a lot of times we just assume police presence is enough to deter crime, but it's not. Your reaction, please.
Yeah, the way I typically talk about this, first of all, he's right in his premise. There is being a police officer and being utilized to stand with the uniform as part of an overall security plan for deterrence and response. But really, the hard work in securing these sites is the advanced planning, the going in and talking, as you did, about, are we going to need drone coverage here? Are we going to need ballistic glass? Are we going to be screening everybody coming into an event? We advise police departments, universities all around the country on hosting these types of events, and we always, give them our best practices. Some of the larger police departments do have very specialized divisions within them where they are sending their officers out for training to learn how to do the advanced process. That's weighing the number of people to come in, are tickets being used, screening being used, how's the stage going to be protected, how's the speaker going to be protected. Look, we saw at the memorial service at State Farm Stadium, which is a rare sight, is the president was actually behind ballistic glass during an indoor event. That's not normally the case for an indoor event. Normally, the president is not behind glass. Based on this elevated environment, based on the recent assassination of Charlie Kirk, I think that is something that you're going to see stay.
Okay. I appreciate your thoughts on that. I know you're not a lawyer, but maybe you could just weigh in. The public is frustrated. On the one hand, the FBI says we want to be the most transparent and honest FBI that we've had in a long time. On the other hand, they're not releasing footage. They're not releasing videos. They're not releasing cell phone camera footage, photos. Why do you think that is? I'm in the comments reading. They're like, okay, we got him jumping off the roof. Why did they edit off 3 seconds when he takes the shot? Your thoughts on why the public are getting limited information?
Yeah, I got to tell you, in a dynamic situation like that, it's very, and we saw an example of it, it's very hard to be both transparent and be accurate. We saw 2 false starts from the FBI in that case, right? They had one suspect in custody. That person was brought in, ended up being charged with something else related to possession of child pornography. Then you heard they had somebody different in custody. That person was released altogether. The FBI issued a statement via X that they had the suspect in custody, and then they went back and said that the person was released. So, you know, it's very hard to do, and you need to balance it. Now, I will say the unique circumstance in this case is that the suspect is still alive. That's not normally the case with these types of attacks. Normally, the shooter either takes their own lives or they have to be killed by law enforcement under use of force. And so the fact that this person was able and had planned to escape and is still alive means that we have an ongoing investigation. And that has to be respected because now we have a living suspect that has counsel, right, appointed to him, and they're not going to want to release everything that they have. It was, I think, limited in scope while they were trying to locate the suspect and maybe use the assistance of the public to identify him. But even then, you saw very limited release of some pictures, and that was it.
Yeah. And to be honest, it worked, right?
It did.
The backstory is Tyler Robinson's mother sees the photo. She's sickened and calls the husband and says, I think this might be our son. And he's like, let's get him on the phone, right? And then the story goes on and on. But so what the FBI did is frustrating to us, but ultimately worked. I have a meme that, you know, maybe helps people understand what we think is happening here. It's like just the same thing over and over and over and over. And we don't want to drive ourselves crazy as we try to figure this out. But my best guess, and I have zero experience, is that we have gone from a crime to a conviction where now the FBI believes that they're going to show that they are trustworthy and transparent by putting this guy in jail, not releasing everything, dirtying the jury pool, letting evidence get out there. Do you think we've just transitioned into the next phase?
Oh, absolutely. And let's remember that, you know, because this didn't occur and it didn't involve the assassination of somebody in elected office or on federal property, or really having any federal nexus, maybe something with the firearm, possibly. The federal laws, and I spoke about this with the situation in Charlotte as well, too. The federal government is not always best suited to be the one to bring the charges. They either there's, you know, statutes that aren't as firm as statutes at the state and local level, and Utah's a perfect example of this. They have the laws in place to charge this suspect with premeditated murder, and they also have a very harsh consequence in the form of the death penalty. So if you're weighing how something is going to be prosecuted, and that works vice versa, by the way, too. When you talk about child pornography, the federal laws are much harsher. There's a 10-year mandatory minimum as opposed to state and local charges. So of course, whenever possible, you want to see those cases go federal because that's going to deliver the harshest punishment to those that carry out those horrific crimes. Same thing here with murder. State and local is really where it should be charged. Now in Charlotte, we see a sanctuary location based on the victim of the throat slashing that took place on the metro system. That is a federal entity, that rail system. That's how the federal government is now saying, okay, state and local, city of Charlotte, you don't want to charge this person. We will step in, even though our reach based on this nexus is rather weak. It still gets us involved in the case and allows us to bring some charges forth. But really, even in Charlotte, you want to see that charge at the state and local level because it's murder.
Okay. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. Let me switch gears with you. I'm trying to wrap my head around this story. Tom Homan, who MAGA absolutely loves, is now being accused of taking a $50,000 bribe. The story is that he was given $50,000 in a bag of cash by an undercover FBI agent. He is saying, I didn't break any laws. The White House is saying there's nothing to see here. The FBI and the DOJ are saying there's nothing to see here. But this is a pretty serious accusation. Your thoughts on this? And could this have been a Watergate moment where a story goes out and they try to get Donald Trump to defend Tom Homan, similar to what was done in the Watergate situation? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is unfortunate because, look, regardless of what happened here, it's a problem for the White House. It's a problem for the Department of Justice, and it's a problem for Director Kash Patel of the FBI, because what we hear is that there is evidence of this in the form of audio and visual. And we're talking about somebody that is employed by the federal government now, may not have been at the time, but is employed by the federal government now. And by the way, very, very good at his job. I think there's no denying that. I'm a big fan, but I think the Department of Justice and the Trump administration at some point here is going to have to be more transparent with the American people.
Yeah. Well, again,
This
is a breaking story, but we don't really have all of the details. On a positive note, again, Tom Homan, just beloved by the president, MAGA, most people in the country. I'm reading right now, between what he's been doing, the border, ICE, and self-deportation, the Trump administration has around 3 million illegal immigrants that have been deported. That's a massive number in such a short period of time.
Well, it is, and it had to be an aggressive strategy based on the overall numbers that were allowed into the country, mostly unvetted. So yes, I like the aggressiveness. Again, we're not talking about a singular strategy here of just seal the border and our mission is done. It's a multifaceted approach. As we've discussed before, not only did they start by securing the border, which was the logical first step, stop that bleeding coming into the country, but also the interior operations, the designation of the cartels as terrorist organizations. We see what's going on in terms of use of the military now off the coast of Venezuela with some of these drug boats. I think 3 so far, one as recent as yesterday. We're also stepping up our interactions with our international partners. Secretary Rubio from State has been down to Mexico. I think it's 3 or 4 times already. He's been to the region the same amount. So this is holding our international partners accountable and saying, look, we give you hundreds of millions of dollars a year in programs to strengthen your judiciary, strengthen law and order, strengthen your border security, and you're not doing anything to help us solve the problem when it comes to this illegal mass migration. Now, you're either going to step up and do it, or we're going to stop this funding, right? Diplomacy can't be all carrots all the time. Diplomacy also needs to see the stick sometimes, and the stick needs to come out. And you got to say, look, you better step it up here. So what my point is, we're seeing all this working together in great synergy as any good strategy would, utilizing all the right means to carry out the specific initiatives that they've got going on related to the immigration crisis. And I'll tell you, it's delivering great results. And so a large part of that, you know, to Kristi Noem's credit and Tom Homan's credit, Stephen Miller's credit. I mean, I don't want to Rodney Scott. I don't want to leave anybody out because I know all these people, but they're all doing a great job. Is my point.
Yeah, no, I agree. You communicated that very well. Chuck, thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to put a direct link to your book, Terrorists on the Border and in Our Country. If people want to follow you online, where can I point them towards?
Sure, I'm on X at Charles_Marino, or you can visit my website, charlesmarino.com.
Okay, I will put both of those. Thank you so much. We'll have you on
Thanks.
again in the future. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too, Stephen.